Welcome back. The Artie Lange Show. Hour 2. Good friend of the show is here, regular. I've been on his new show, which is, that's a lot of fun over there at Fox Sports 1.
A lot of fun over there.
It is. Crowd goes wild. I had a blast. Regis is there, and, you got a good rapport going on with all the guys. It's like a 7-hosted show.
You better have a good rapport. You spend 2 hours with these people every day. That's how long I'm there.
Trevor
I'm there 2
Pryce
hours.
is here.
That's it.
Well, you got to put a suit on. It's.
I put a suit on just because I have them.
Right.
Not because I don't have to.
It's not a required dress thing.
No. I try to overdo it. I either way overdo it and put on a tux.
Yeah.
Or we underdo it and don't wear a shirt. It's kind of like there's no in between.
Do you like doing that show? It looks like fun.
I do. I think I've learned to love live TV because my thing is always the more it burns down, the better it is.
Right.
So I'm not laughing with us; I laugh at us. You know what I mean? So I kind of enjoy it. At first, I was kind of like, when we get stuff wrong, and it's kind of like you'll never see it again. It's anything that comes on daily. Once it's done at 6 o'clock, guess what? No matter what happened, it will never be seen again.
It's done.
It's done.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I had to learn that.
Is it tough sitting through those broads giving their opinions?
At times it can be.
Oh
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Very attractive women on the show.
I'm not gonna lie to you. No, it's fine. Because, and John will tell you this: if you sit next to somebody in a sports show and they did not play the sport on your level and they come at it from a fan perspective, I basically have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Do you not have respect for it either?
For fans and whatnot, I respect fans and whatnot, but my point of reference is so
they couldn't
different.
Possibly know, right? Exactly.
It's so different. It's like, well, the fans, and I'm like, I could give two rats butts about what the fans think, and they get mad at me for saying that.
I'm
and I'm
sure.
like, I have a bigger role in this. I have to go out there and do my job. Your job is to basically do no job and watch me do my job, and then berate me if I don't do it great.
Right.
It's
like a comic is a guy who makes fun of people who do things instead of doing things.
You're absolutely right.
Like I've chosen to make fun of people who do stuff.
Right.
Rather than do it.
And do nothing. And do nothing about it. Hey, you're this. Well, so are you.
Just point out how they suck at it.
Put on back my headphones.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything out of them, but it's great. I look good.
Especially with football.
No, I don't want to.
Especially with football, though, it's definitely it's America's pastime. I don't care what anybody says. It's the most, and people are so opinionated about football, man. They really are.
You know what? It's the closest you will get to civil war in this country again.
You're
is,
right,
man, dude. I sometimes you have to. It's like I'm listening to like sports radio this morning, and they're talking about the A-Rod thing, and they're talking about the New Yorker thing. They came out and said football players have to be really smart, and there's opinions one way or the other, and some of the stuff you hear, you're just like, wow, it's not that big a deal. You know what I mean? Like, do you have a roof over your head?
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Right.
If you have a roof over your head and can feed your kids food, you being angry about this is not, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, in the big scheme of things, this is a game.
Yeah.
When you played, now granted, you played until very recently, and you played for a long time, 14 years or 15 years, whatever it was. But when you played, did you realize what a big deal it was, football? Because I was just talking about this.
I
was always curious if players are in a vacuum and they don't really
because he's right.
Yeah.
I did not realize how big it was until I left.
And you're probably better off for not realizing.
And you are.
Yeah.
But the guys that do realize how big it is are the guys that you see in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
The Ray Lewises, the Michael Strahans.
Why? Because they know how to work
because
it?
they knew how to work
Yeah.
it. They knew how to work the media, and they realized at a very young age, this is my platform.
Okay.
You know, and whatever message I want, John and I were a lot alike.
Right.
I just wanted to come do my job and go home.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was not concerned about the rest of it. If I was very good at my job, all the better. If they paid me a lot of money to do my job, hey, great. The rest of it was I was non-compliant. And I said this on our show. I said, if I would have known how hard it was being a part of the media when I was a player, I would have spoke more. Because they would always come to my locker, and I'm like, I'm not talking today. And I get an attitude.
And they see, and the media does a thing where they interpret that as hostile, where you just don't want to talk. They think that's a hostile move.
But the problem is, Artie, those guys have to write something. They have a column that they turn in 4 hours, and there's
so write about what happened on the field.
But it's kind of like they have to have something to write about.
Okay.
And if you don't give them anything to write about, they can't do their job.
Yeah.
And I realize that now because
But
the
how
New
is
York
that your
Times-
problem? You know
It's
what I mean?
not. It's not.
It's
not
part of your
then.
job to
It's part of your job.
Oh, it is?
now, but
Okay.
now I just
To be
I'm just
available.
saying-
That's
Do
why
they tell you
Marshawn-
that? Does management tell you that when you sign a
absolutely.
contract?
Marshawn
Absolutely.
Lynch is about to get fined. How much? I don't
Probably
know.
at least
he
$100
hasn't
grand.
talked to the media all year.
And then,
Like as
okay.
soon as the game ends, he,
And you get
I was
fined
like
for
that.
that.
I was like that.
at lunch before the right when the walkthrough ended in the morning, I would
Yep.
go to my locker, grab my helmet, grab my pads,
And go sit in the training room.
Take it in the training room.
all of
Then
us
I would
did it.
go eat lunch, so I wouldn't have to go in
Right.
and walk by the media
Right.
and get caught.
And during open media locker room time, you like all the players are gone, and you just see 30 media guys just standing in a circle by themselves because nobody's there to talk to.
Waiting for something.
And the biggest problem was already now, Ted, and I told Mike Shanahan this. I said the reason I don't talk to the media is not because I don't want to talk to you. It's the time of day that you guys have for us to talk. I need to get myself prepared for practice, or even it's after practice. I don't want to talk to you right now. You know what I mean? It's like the worst time of day is when they're
Absolutely.
allowed to.
It's actually
to get
harder
asshole.
work than playing for you.
It really
times.
is. It
Especially
really is.
once you start getting banged up and old, and you have to like just getting
Cranky.
ready for practice.
It's such a
it's a
long
process,
process.
where you
It's
need to
weird,
get
man.
get into the hot tub, then get some work done.
Yeah.
You know, like it takes forever. And if you are sitting there being asked these inane
Stupid,
questions,
asinine questions.
it's taking away from you doing your job.
I couldn't imagine.
But again,
But that's
Artie,
part of your job. That's
But again,
that's the
Artie,
catch-22.
here's the thing. Now that I'm on the other side of it,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I realize now how hard it is.
Yeah.
And I remember Adam Schefter, who now works at ESPN, would tell me, he says, Trevor, when he worked in Denver, he was like, Trevor, trust me, we don't want to do this. We don't have a choice.
You gotta
We
write
have-
something.
We have to write something.
Yeah, and then you get if you start making stuff up, you're in a lot of danger of getting
A
sued.
lot of problems.
So a question. You're in a unique perspective now with the Shanahan RG3 thing. You played for Shanahan. What's your take on that whole thing?
The first thing people have to realize is, and I said this on our show as well, I live in that part of the country, right? I live in between D.C. and Baltimore, right? I stayed in the Baltimore. When I left the Ravens, I moved closer to D.C. I didn't want to be in D.C. I just wanted to be close enough that I could spit at it. You know what I mean? And I can get there if I wanted to. And I don't think people realize how this kid is received in that part of the country. First of all, it's a big media market. A football team that was in the doldrums for a long time. They gave up their entire draft to get him. All of those things, the day he got drafted, they walked him into a half-full stadium in his suit. As in, here's the messiah of D.C. I mean, literally, it is President Obama and then RG3. And it depends on the day you ask. Those two, they flip.
Yeah.
Who's the most
Well, and
popular
it
man?
had been lousy for a while, but that's a rich history.
It's
of
a rich
football.
history.
Yeah,
So now, and then you bring in this Heisman-winning black quarterback into that city.
A rock star.
He's a rock star
Yeah.
the day he touches down. So I can't overstate that enough, how powerful this kid is and where he lives.
Yeah.
All right. The other part of that is the things that when he wound up with DC, the Adidas commercials, the sponsorship money, all the things the Redskins put him to do made him even that much more ahead.
He's out there,
now,
yeah.
nobody said to him, hey, listen, be careful what you ask for, because there's another side of this. Nobody warned him about the side that's coming now. Nobody said, hey, people are going to start hating your guts if something goes wrong.
Psychologically, it's got to be crazy.
It is crazy, Artie, but he has an opportunity, I think, to be a great quarterback. That aside, he has been tasked with saving a city, not athletically, saving a city on the brink of disaster. I'm telling you, it is. I can't state it enough. Howie Long said it because he lives in that part of the country. He said, "Listen, y'all have no idea what this kid means to that part of the country. More so than any football player anywhere, save for maybe Tom Brady."
Okay. No. Well, listen. I mean, so how do you? So it's got to be. He's got to really look within himself and mentally get ready for
I think
what's
there's
gonna
a
happen.
problem. The problem is here's this guy who seemed so grounded and so bright and so talented and like he had it all figured out when he was at Baylor.
Yeah.
And coming through the process, you'd see the interviews where he just seemed to really understand that humility was important in the process, right? Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, after that rookie year, after what you're talking about, you kind of forget. It's human to forget
You get caught up in
some
it.
of your
Sure.
groundedness. You know,
Right.
some of those tenets that you applied to your life that made you work hard instead of,
You're not a student anymore. Now you're making money.
Well, that's
now you're,
the-
now you're a man.
that's
he's
the
not,
thing.
Now you're a man.
He is not. He is no longer the student.
Right.
He is the master.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's the
He's gonna
problem.
pick the next. He helped pick the coach. He's going to help decide what the offense is.
Now, do you think that's
He's
wrong to give him so much power at a young age?
Dan Snyder does not. He could care less about how much power the kid has.
Right.
How many butts is he going to put in the seats?
Exactly.
How much sponsorship money dollars can RG3 bring in? What can I get from from a business decision standpoint? And that's why Daniel Snyder is the best owner in football.
But don't you think he's putting that above winning though at this
At
point?
100%.
Okay, but
100%.
is that wrong or right?
The best owner in football from a
ask,
profitability perspective, right?
if you
We're talking.
ask any owner, let's take every owner in the NFL, all 32 owners, and say, listen, I can guarantee you one of two things. I can guarantee you a Super Bowl, or I can guarantee you $100 million profit in the end of 3 years. What do you think the percentage of them would take the Super Bowl ring over the profits?
You know what?
50%.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
answer
right.
the question.
I guarantee you're
There
right.
is
But some
other
of the guys that I really respect, like the Maras and Kraft and all those guys, I mean, they're all going to say the
but
bowl.
they have both. They
Yeah.
have both.
And they always
if you
will.
ask, if you
They're
ask
rich
Shad
no matter
Khan,
what. Yeah.
If you ask Shad Khan from the Jacksonville Jaguars and say, listen, you can have one or the other. Here's a devil's pact. I can guarantee you your team will be profitable. The team you just bought for $1 billion.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you $100 million profit, or I can guarantee you a Super Bowl ring and no profit. What do you think he'll take?
Yeah, but how isn't it?
There you go.
You get a Super Bowl ring though. You got to make something.
I'm saying that, and that's what it is. If you're successful and you're a team that goes to the playoffs and all that thing, that's how you make money.
Right.
But Daniel Snyder is saying, until that point, I'm going to sell this kid that we mortgage our future on until the cows come on. And if it means I have to fire the coaching staff, he's the only coach I've ever seen. He's the only player I've ever seen do that to Mike Shanahan. John Elway couldn't do it.
I know Shanahan's a respected guy.
I played for Mike, and
Yeah.
Mike is alpha dog, but he ran into one.
Yeah.
Who was named Dan Snyder.
Do you think that Shanahan is getting softer in the
His old age?
twilight of his career? Yeah, seriously. Like
No.
the old Mike Shanahan, maybe he wouldn't have taken that.
He
but
looked-
maybe
he looked pissed
now
on the
you got
sidelines.
your son on the staff with you. I mean, there's a softening process that has to occur, right?
He has gone the roller coaster, because when I first got to Denver, he was as about a good a guy, as about as soft a coach as I've ever seen. We didn't practice in pads. We didn't practice if we didn't want to.
Well, that's coming off a Super Bowl. Super Bowl win.
That was also coming off a team that had a bunch of guys that were 33. So they didn't have to do that.
Right.
And then as we got worse, he started tightening the screws. You know what I mean? We're going to
I didn't
practice
think
in
it
pads.
worked like that.
It didn't. It did. That's what happened. Because
Yeah.
we would have practice, and the team would be, and John would tell you, everybody stands here.
Right.
And the head coach, he was 70 yards away watching practice. And it was the inmates running running the asylum.
Were you there the both Super Bowls?
Yes, I was.
You were. Were they your
but
first 2 years?
My first 2
Oh,
years.
wow.
And then after that, after John and I left, and we started doing like this, he was creeping up closer and closer. Next thing you know, he could hear us talking about him, and we had to stop talking about him. And he became very hard, he became a hard ass very fast.
Right.
Because we were bad, and it was said about him that he couldn't win without John Elway. You know what I mean? And he wanted to prove that wrong.
So that becomes his thing.
And
to
then he got
prove.
fired.
Yeah, right.
They wanted him in D.C. Now he has grandkids.
Yeah.
And I remember Kyle as a high school kid, and the wildness that he would pull on a weekly basis.
Really?
He ran Denver. Kyle Shanahan ran Denver, Colorado.
I'm sure.
He was in the clubs
Must have been
with
fun.
us.
Wow.
He was 15. We were like, "What are you doing
Well, it's
here?"
like being Santa Claus Jr. of the North Pole.
I'm telling you, Holmes,
Yeah.
he had the life.
But you know, he looks older, Shanahan. Now, you know, the
does.
last couple years.
I watched him age.
but he still looks mad. He still looks like an alpha kind of guy. You know.
And I bet it was. Listen, Dan, you need to either rein him in or you have to fire me. You
Right.
I can't have the quarterback running the team. I can't have the quarterback running the message to the media. I can't have the quarterback in your ear telling me. I can't have the quarterback tell me when he's ready to play. You know what I mean?
Well, I
and
think
that's what happened. And Dan Snyder said,
So
"You know
Dan
what?
said, "Okay, see you."
It's, all right, you got to go."
Unfortunately, the coach rarely wins out when it's between the star athlete and Jordan's done it, Bird's done it, and over the years. Okay, a couple of years ago, a bunch of people probably would have said RG3, but now this young crop of quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Kaepernick, Andrew Luck, RG3. Who do you think they take first? Who would you take first, if you had to pick? Of all these new guys.
I would take Kaepernick.
Kaepernick first.
But you know why? He has a stronger arm.
But 2 years ago, RG3.
But he's not in that group. I mean, he wasn't in that draft.
He was in that
Well,
draft.
I don't mean that.
He's got a
I'm
year
just
on
saying
that.
young quarterbacks in general.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the draft.
If I had to take it's a coin flip between him and Andrew Luck.
Okay.
But if you're talking about Andrew Luck and RG3 as they were coming out,
Right.
it was RG3.
I said that too.
Because
I
he
mean,
was
everybody-
faster, and that's what Mike Shanahan said. Mike Shanahan
course.
said, "Listen, even if we had picked first, we would have taken you."
Yeah.
And when you tell the kid that was picked second that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, you've already lost.
Yeah, I
know
think
what mean?
everybody would have done. I think everybody would have done.
Yeah, but the Colts picked the right one.
Yeah.
The Colts got the guy that,
Yeah.
as erratic as Andrew Luck is,
Right.
you know what the thing about Andrew Luck is? Everybody likes him. No matter how, he can go out there and throw 30 interceptions.
Right.
And they kept saying he had a great rookie year. He did not.
He threw a lot of picks.
He threw a lot of interceptions.
But he
threw
doesn't
like
have
20 interceptions.
he doesn't have the help he needs yet. When he gets the help he needs,
Right, he's gonna be
He's
amazing.
gonna-
But
he
even
could
more
win
so,
more,
you forgive what any mistake he made because he is a likable. He's one
He's
of
a
the
likable.
guys-
He sounds
he's
like a
a
dumb
leader,
guy.
but he's a likable leader.
He's a
which is
likable leader.
which is
There's a difference. 'Cause
tough to pull off a lot of times.
times when you're in a football team, the quarterbacks they come out and they're by themselves, and
Yeah.
you kind of don't know. Like Tom Brady doesn't talk to his teammates. I know that.
Yeah.
I've heard that because he's busy processing quarterback stuff. So if you're not a quarterback or offensive coordinator or somebody in offense, you and him don't interact in the practice field. Andrew Luck interacts with everybody at all points.
Right.
And it comes off that way in the media, and it comes off that way on TV. And he's going to be the next great quarterback. When he gets help and when he gets better, he's gonna be Aaron Rodgers like.
You think so?
Transcend-
Wow.
Yeah, and I think
he's
for a
gonna
long
transcend
time.
the sport.
He sounds like a dumb guy too. People like that too.
People love it.
He's
They
like-
sounds dumb?
Yeah,
He's got that mouth breathing thing going on, like
he
Eli
sounds
Manning.
like a mouth breather. Stanford educated.
He's got.
I'm sure he's
know?
not. I'm saying, but he sounds like a mouth breather.
Dude is brilliant, but
Yeah.
that's why you love him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he got to the playoffs this year, and that was a big win in the playoffs. The way, what a game! A couple of great passes, and recovering that fumble at the end, and
Huge
they ran into
comeback.
a better team. But it's gonna be interesting. Well, we got to take a break. I want to hear obviously your thoughts on what's going on. It's gonna be Brady and Manning. How can you beat that? It's gonna be a fun weekend.
Tired of seeing them two play football. Tired
Well,
of that mess.
it's the right Manning for
Yeah,
Brady.
I
He
guess,
loses to
but
the other
it's-
guy.
Yeah,
We'll be back after this.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.